All right, I'd like to call tonight's budget workshop meeting to order. First on the agenda tonight is the liquid fuels fund.
Thank you. We're just gonna dive right in. I hope we don't want everybody for about a half hour, 45 minutes. With that, want to jump into the liquid fuels fund as is written up already here. As we're aware, so liquid fuels fund, as we call it internally, Fund 35. That is based on the receipts of monies from the state as part of that liquid fuels component. When you fill up at the gas pump, there is an act that creates a division of these dollars, road miles based on collection, things of that nature with how this is distributed. So you'll see, based on our population, both current as well as total number of road miles, township currently has just over 125 recognized road-based miles on that liquid fuels mapping. So they take all these, and that's how they figure out your calculation that they get annually. So that's received earlier in the year. We use that to fund various projects. It has to be used for certain things with roads, the operation and maintenance of those items. Those dollars are audited every year by the state, and we're compliant on that side. So what you see, what did we do in 2025? We did some road resurfacing to include microsurfacing, so just the different types of paving type material. We actually street paved this year, which we call hot mix paving program. That is the asphalt as you see it going down in the paver and rolling. And also out of this fund, that's what we use in the wintertime for salt and in-ice skid. So we purchased just under 2,000 tons of road de-icing salt. So those are the type of expenditures that are allowed by this type of fund. So I always think it's important to note, as you can see, we try to trend this number from 2019, just after my arrival there, to current. And you can see definitely, of course, around $1 million when we first started trending, at least on my end. We had that significant dip after COVID, and then we saw a little bit of increases, but we're proposed now to see a decrease from our current year, about 3%, if my math was right, the calculator. And I think it's important to note, the board, the public, as individuals potentially move away from those regular gasoline type vehicles that fund this, the township should be aware that this is a significant portion of roadway improvements that happen out of this fund. So I know that there is work in Harrisburg to kind of address these things, but the board should be mindful as you're seeing slight decreases here over the years. Where will it stop? So in your budget book, I'll just note, you'll see it a little bit later. We actually have at this point, especially the one posted to the public, those dollars are a little bit higher. We had budgeted $965. We received our official notice from the state saying that number was going to be the $947. So a little bit lower than what you had in your budget books and budget placed online. It's one of the items we have to update prior to final draft. So how do we fund this thing? Of course, interest earnings, we believe, will be around 20,000 depending on the economy. That shared state revenue, as I noted, 947 and change, revised from that initial budget of 965. Fund balance, so money's kind of like we have to go to that we have in savings from this fund. We originally had that budget at 140,000 to balance this budget. With that addition, we have to go 158,000 now. for a total of just over $1.1 million in revenue. So our starting fund balance, just so everybody is also aware, we project we should have approximately, about 1.24 million at the end of this year remaining in that account. So we're fairly okay on that, to take that 158,000 of fund balance out of that number.
Since 158.
158 now. We have it listed as 140. That's item. Let's see here. That's item 35396,000. Transfer from reserves on your sheet. It's on the detail page.
Yep.
It's all good and also in the first description.
Yeah, first
Yeah.
it's revenue less, or revenue less expense at 140, that's right.
Yeah.
And the 140 is the liquid fuel reserve fund.
So you have monies that, at the end of the year, if we're able to be on budget, or we get more state revenue than anticipated, that goes into a liquid fuels, is basically savings fund, right? That's your fund balance.
So that's the last this year
Correct,
getting carried over.
correct. And we've been carrying over approximately $1 million for the last several years, being mindful of our spending plan. So as you see on the bottom, so our anticipated, we'll just kind of skip to that, but just so you understand that end of year, about 1.24 million. Over the last several years, right? We started 2023 with 997,000 in that fund reserve. In 2024, we started at like 1.4 million almost. In 2025, we started at 1.3. So that's the starting cash. We add the dollars received from the state. That's how we give our kind of total budget in there.
So we basically have about a 1-year reserve.
Correct. Correct. With our expenditures, as we said, they're pretty basic. We have to be kind of compliant with what's required by law. As we said, that winter maintenance has a big component, that 185,000. Now, of course, we had a little bit worse of a winter this year than we've had in the past. So sometimes we see our cost savings in there. We're about 173,000 year to date for salt out of $175,000 budget. We're full already to start next year. So if we have a fairly non-robust snow, knowing that we're full of salt, we might turn out a little bit better. Road projects, as we call this is the resurfacing content. So that is our street paving program plus the other resurfacing methods, except for fog seal. That's not a liquid fuels approved dependent expenditure in our spec. And in the capital projects fund, as we circulated the fleet plan, the draft fleet plan in your book, which we can talk about more in detail at the workshop this upcoming Monday, in case there's questions. Part of that calls for the purchase of an additional tandem dump truck in our fleet to replace one. If you have questions on that side of it, Doug's here to speak to the equipment component part, why we're looking to do that. So vehicle purchases, they are an approved item. However, they're capped at a certain percent of your money, state money received each year. So we haven't bought any vehicles for a while. We are still under our approved amount to do that with that kind of expenditure. So they do make it that you can't go buy $1 million worth of vehicles each year. Things have to go towards roads. So
Is the 1-ton dump truck coming from this coming year's liquid fuels?
no, one tandem's coming out here. Yeah, 1-ton dump truck's coming out of the sewer book. Yeah, just kind of where we are, the overall road resurfacing, just to give you a picture. That is our bigger project. You see that little bit of a reduction in what we've spent. We've spent about 870,000 this year in contracted road resurfacing with the paving. For next year, we're looking to do about a $990,000 program, knowing that 640,000 is coming from this fund, and as we'll see in the capital projects fund, it's Doug and my recommendation to run a fog seal next year. So that 250,000 fog seal project plus the 640, we are in our $990,000 total range. So just to see how it compares, 875 for this year out of that fund. But I wanted people to be aware that, overall, we haven't reduced the paving program. We've just funded it in a different spot in case there's questions on that side of it. For those that might say, well, you're spending less on road researching this year, we're actually not. It's just spread out over 2 funds now. I would also caution that, our road researching plan still calls for about $1.4 million worth of road researching that we should be doing to get and achieve our schedule. So we're still have some shortfalls there throughout all the budgets, both the capital and this one, to deliver on that stuff. That's basically it for the liquid fuels. It's pretty simple, unless there's questions on where that.
Questions on liquid fuels? Yes, Matt.
You said the budget for next year is 990, 640 coming from Fund 35 and 250 coming from Fund 30. Is still
Did I miss my number? Sorry, 890. Thank you, Matt. 890. My typo slide. Yes. My fingers said it wrong. 890. Thank you for not letting me mess up.
I thought it was going crazy for a moment.
Nah, you're good. 2 and 6 is 8 and 9. 890. Sorry. So your paying program is close to what it is. Sorry, my fault. Glad you caught me. All right. Ready to go capital watch?
Yep.
So our capital projects fund, the background of where these things are, right? Funded by the township's property tax. So property tax, as we talked about in the general fund, only goes to this fund for capital improvements. We do things like fix buildings, replace playgrounds, all of those things, more of a long-term type deal. So how do we fund this thing? That is the property tax, about 1.3 million in property tax. We think we'll bring in about 30,000 in interest. And this year we need to transfer in 100,000 from the general fund. And then we need another 275,000 from the developer impact. And still with our extensive project list, we're going to need about 880,000 in reserves out of that account. So we are seeing significant investment in capital things here, and we'll see what they are. But also, we need to have the board and the public, of course, always be mindful that without that general fund transfer and some other things, we are exceeding extensively what we bring in our property tax. So I would not be doing my due diligence if I didn't hit on that a little bit. So we have expenditures in there, and we'll go into them in detail, but there is our expenditures of like 3.4 million. You saw we were going to collect. What do these things go for? First thing, tax collection. We pay part of the real estate tax office for them collecting this tax for us, their materials, their supplies, and the tax collector receives $10,000 for that collection. Half of that's split between the library tax collection and the general fund, and these expenses in capital fund, because they go out on the same bill. We split the cost for the collection. Transfer to debt service fund. That's our other big item here. Go.
The split's 50-50, even though the library tax is lower than the other.
Correct. 50-50. Yeah, because it's the same bill, the same building. So.
Okay.
Yeah. Transfer to debt service fund. So we do pay back debt for this building. For that component, we pay that debt back, as we saw in the debt service budget, until 2030. This is our last year to reduce amount because we have some additional open space that was purchased on that original lending that open space money pays for. So after 2026, I would let you know that you're going to be around 730,000 in debt repayment. So out of your 1.3 million in tax collection in 2027, over half of it will go back to the debt service component. This year, we're at 329,000. So our capital projects plus the debt service plus the tax collection, 3 million in general capital projects gives you that 3.4 million total. So what are we going to do with these dollars, or what do we propose to do as a board? We really appreciate feedback that you can bring to make sure we're headed in the right direction. As we said, supplementing that road resurfacing program. So we call that contracted paving in this first line item. It is the fog seal program. It's basically a stone and tar and chip with a tar seal on top of it. Our paving schematic is a little more detailed with our chip set for that. We can't pay for that out of liquid fuel, so we have to bring it out of this side. We have a list of roadways, proposed roadways, if the board needs to see those as well. Doug has those prepared. Playground equipment. So we've been on our annual replacement program. We've been to Spring Ridge, we've been to Farmington. This year it was Quarry. Next year proposed is East Texas. The rec department did provide in their supplemental their additional next 5 playgrounds that they're looking at over the next 5 years for that capital side. There was discussion at our last meeting kind of about the playground, its appearance, things of that nature. So we actually asked and engaged staff for an alternate. The original that we had looked at was a component of leaving the mulch area and using the existing playground area where it is now under the tree canopy, putting in new playground equipment and new wood carpeting there. And that rendering, which I have here as well, in case anybody wants to see the hard copy, I have 1 and 1, was approximately 433,000. So we budgeted 525 for extra contingencies and have kind of a safe cushion there. Since our last discussion, the staff was able to engage our alternate design, preliminary alternate design. Of course, these are all prelims, but that is our wood carpet in the existing area playground proposal for those dollars. We're using basically the same equipment in each proposal. However, it's just a little bit different on the cost side. So Renee's going to flip to the next one. That is proposal option 2 after discussion with the board to keep our playgrounds consistent with what we've delivered. You'll see concrete curbing on that proposal. That also has the pour in place rubberized surface underneath it. What we've got on pricing that came back Tuesday for us, you're looking at about 642,000. So you're talking about, my maths right now, hopefully Matthew will catch it, I think about 210,000 difference positive for the switch of those types of baits. So we have them here. I think this is the good part about having the board think about the way you'd like to go. We can get some feedback in the next 2 weeks or so when we finalize budget. But what are the expectations for the community? What do you want to see? And how do you like that appearance on that side? So I have copies here as well. I can get you hard copies and digital if you'd like to peruse them. It has all the schematics envisioned in it. So if we could shoot back to the slideshow, we can keep kind of moving forward. Thank you, appreciate it. The next item we have is part of our public works plan for some equipment, replacement of equipment, specifically lawnmowers for the park side of it. Currently, we're looking and we propose to replace one of our larger Toro wing mowers, actually with 2 104-inch mowers for 65,000. What we've seen, and I don't want to misquote Doug here and give the wrong numbers, Those Toro wing mowers, we have two of them in our fleet currently. They're about 100,000 a piece. Right now, when they break down, we have to shop them places, and it's a little bit more difficult. We're hopeful with, kind of rolling one of those out of the fleet, rolling two, the 104-inch mowers. The Hustler is a product here that's supported locally as well, CoStar's fine. We think that it might be, kind of advantageous, so there's questions about that side, of course, he can address any concern there.
Or the walkers, are those the hustlers, they're not,
It's similar, but they're wing mowers.
Yeah.
so they're zero turn mowers.
Yeah,
Flip down with side flip down.
side foot down.
I seen it on the list in the description, the hustlers, and hey, going back to East Texas Playground, what did you say, it was 600 and some?
About 642,000 to go with the curbing and pour and place surface.
Did you have 525 in because of the potential grant?
I have 525 in. I have 525 in because we had looked at, and staff had looked at using the current area, and using wood carpet, mulch in that area. So we figured that, it would be around 450 for the equipment. I have some extra in there in case there were contingencies or we had to build additional ADA pathway to that, current location. So that's why we picked that number, not because of the grant. We are looking at these as I always have. We may not get a grant. So without the grant, we went kind of a lower, I don't say lower end because the equipment's the same. Without that pour in place, we cut back the budget internally a little bit. To try to be mindful of where we were on expenses, so, yeah, that's why the quote's a little bit less than 500. I have extras in there, a little conservative. So if the board would want to choose to go to that additional proposal, we would be 200,000, additional.
I guess like previous discussions too, the location dictates a lot of the cost.
Yes.
Because of the routes where the current one is.
Correct, we don't want the pour and place surface over the roots or curbing in that location either, so. We hear things back from residents and people that use that park about the shade, they like the shade in that area. We think getting things sometimes with that pour in place, we're not really sure how that's gonna kind of react in the shaded area, it's gonna get moldy or, not mold, but it grow kind of green on there with moss in that shade. So we kind of looked at that a little bit different. If we would look at doing the other component with the curbing, we want to move outside of the trees, between the trees, the tree line and the current tennis court. So almost in front of the parking lot, that big wide open area, in that location, not where the tennis court is, but not as close to the golf course, kind of like right when you come off the walk, before the band shell there in the seating area. So that's how the proposals would change a little bit, right?
And I know there was talk about how much the baseball fields use, the one to the west. I don't know if we get looked into that yet or not, or.
I didn't.
That is a big flat area, it is it's almost like an ideal area.
Just a little farther from the parking lot, that's
A
all.
little farther.
Yeah. Good. Okay. Alright, we have some items for community center improvements, we're still working through our list of, some upgrades here that we think we might need for, programming. On this side, as we expand programming, it's a significant number, but, we'll have a better, qualified list here for the board. We know we might need some things as far as in that, old red gym for some upgrades, like, wall padding, things of that nature. But we'll adjust that number and make sure we have more detail back to the board, in the future. Our park signage plan, of course, we've been working on getting rid of the pink signs for the last several years. We are still moving forward in a rotation to finish those signs. To those individuals that we did hear from in the community, why we didn't do them all in one shot. I know we have probably $100,000 worth of signs out there, and we're trying not to also have to replace them all at the same time when they go bad. So we appreciate their understanding on that side of it. The other thing we had in here this year, and this is part of the 275,000 transfer from recreation impact fee into this fund. We were asked, and we've been meeting regularly with LMYA on our facility type areas. One of the items that they looked at, we had sat down to discuss, was the potential to light the softball field 2 up in West Coastville. The current softball field is lit. That would be the second lit field. So we included that in there. This includes like $250 for the actual field. And then the remainder for lighting in that parking lot, because that's required, there's no lighting, they would just do another pole, kind of like they did at this main building, to catch that, so. That's why we transferred in some of the recreation, impact money. This one, we kind of, this category of municipal building upgrades, we kind of didn't want to create or didn't know where to put the emergency service radio project, because it's in various buildings, so we included it in this line item. Ms. Fletcher has prepared quotes to look at the main campus LED sign there. It's starting to become obsolete. So 42,000 in that line item for that. And then those radios at the emergency management building, public works, in the code vehicles that we have that respond out. That's in that component of the line item. Public works equipment. Once again, what we've identified in that fleet replacement plan, the purchase of a new single axle Mack dump on 280,000, 20-foot trailer for 15, and a plow and salt spreader for 17,500. So that would leave that would create the in sewers the 1 ton, the pickup. The pickup that was actually bought with capital money in sewers would come back. It would be fitted with the plow and salt spreader. 1 single axle dump out of here, 1 tandem out of liquid fuels fund, 2 hustler motors as well out of here, and that would be the fleet plan to achieve our goal. The other item we have here, unless there's questions about the fleet part, bridge upgrades. So Ash Lane Bridge is the next component. It's Ash and then Smith. Then we're done for a little bit of time. We then have to plan Sauerkraut up from the building, go to the Hillside School. That's our next long-term plan bridge. So Ash is our next priority. We're looking at much like Gun Club, a concrete precast structure that would be lowered in. The township has sought bids. Those bids were just opened. The good news is I budgeted $750. I think we'll see. I'll wait till the engineer evaluates the bridge bids for their completeness. But I think we're probably conservatively going to be around 675 right now instead of 750. So you would have to consider that bridge award by the first meeting in December. So as we talk about the playground being 200 more, you might be 75 to 100 to the good on the bridge at this point. So we'll revise that number once we have a firm component and let the board know on that date.
Hey, for bridges and so 26 is Ash.
26 is Ash, 27
Smith.
is a drop-in bridge at Smith, a prefab metal bridge because of the low volume of traffic there.
And when you mentioned Hillside, you mean Sauerkraut, but
Yeah, when you go in that dip. That's we think that has some life, maybe 5-8 years in it. But we're already thinking that's our next priority bridge to get to.
We're gonna make it up for road 2 on the bridge.
Yeah, by the time we have to elevate and everything, it's gonna be probably a significant cost bridge down there.
Which one is that?
When you go down to the Aspen
Oh,
on Sauerkraut.
Hey, back to the sign, what is the sign, what's the software obsolete or that's not that old,
2014
cause I
is when we put that in.
yeah, I remember there was one commissioner, I don't know if you recall, that didn't want it. Jim Lansing.
Oh, I
Only
didn't
one-
remember that, okay,
He's the only one that voted against it, he said it, I forget his reasons, but,
yeah,
is it because of the software or the size or the?
right, so there's actually a radio transmitter that goes from out at the sign into my office.
Right,
And that went bad, and they had to kind of use like a refurbished, and there is no, they don't make that piece anymore.
it was wicked
So-
out a little.
Yeah,
But are you going with, are we gonna retrofit it or?
so they're actually gonna take the guts out and use the frame there. We got two different quotes, one from two different companies, and the one quote that came in is from the company that put it in, because they're able to use the frame and everything that's there, replace the guts, and then the software is not going to be like radio transmitted into my office to a laptop that's sitting in the corner. It's actually online now.
All right, it's just I remember the last conversation.
I didn't remember that. I'll have to tell them we're getting another one.
Yeah, I don't like that.
Okay, so are the lights remaining the same or do they gonna?
It's actually gonna be better. Currently, it's a 16mm LED, and the quote that we got was for a 8mm. So it'll be like a lot more clearer.
And not straight?
Brighter. Really, well, the new ones have all that automatic then.
Yeah, I did ask if we were able to sell, if they're taking it out, would we be able to sell that? And because they're using pieces of it, we wouldn't be able to.
Well, if they're silver and it silver's up.
Alright, let's, we'll keep moving here. So your other line item here, the 34,93658, significant item, of course, stormwater as we continue. We have a draft, plan as well, just for, stormwater pipe. This doesn't include in our stormwater plan we have for the board. We'll also include that in our regular board workshop meeting for this month, so you can see the logistics behind just the pipe. They're significant, and I think we've talked about it at the last presentation. You know, we were able to survey about 29,000 linear feet of metal pipe that's in the ground. We know that that has a lifespan we are approaching. We have monies to look and continue our camera program. Once we get out of the rest of the metal coming up this year, we'll be into the concrete side. And what we're finding is this pipe has reached its maximum age and lifespan. So we did a $680,000 replacement project this year. We are looking at a CoStar's lining project. So we've identified CoStar's vendors with our field inspectors from CKS. They've identified in the plan that we've seen kind of for the next 5 years where we need to be to start catching up on these repairs in the ground. So 485 was really the request. I had to kind of bring the number down a little bit where we were, but between 400 and 500 a year for the next minimum, probably 6 to 8 years to get us just in the components of the metal piping in the ground. So a lot of logistics on this. We've expended some significant dollars for our engineering field team, plus camera videoing. These guys have been in basically every pipe now and outfall, identifying size, type, length, and priority of repairs. So we feel like we have a good handle. Once we get into the concrete, we think we got at least another probably 4 or 5 years of video concrete pipe And you may see things in there like separations. We had actually had a line of concrete pipe this year. Because in one of the neighborhoods, because of what we found, on a regular public works complaint. So it's important that we're, looking at this opportunity. So, the other part of that is all these numerous stormwater basins. You'll notice, we've been working to upgrade the fencing there. You'll see the black fencing in your neighborhood. Most recently visible out there on Sauerkraut Lane. We need about 100,000. That'll give us hopefully, 2 basins to get done, each year on that side of it. So, super important on the stormwater side, long-term planning. We know we have to continue to do this, or we're gonna have to dig and replace more piping instead of lining. So, we think probably, at least on preliminary from the engineering side, probably in year 2 or 3 of this, we're gonna have to do some dig and replace. We'll be out of the lining is what we're, kind of looking that we're gonna have to do. So. That's the stormwater component. And last but not least, we try to identify at least, an intersection or 2 to, equip with our traffic preemption devices for the emergency responders. That is what helps, turn the light green for them so they can proceed. We finished our light this year, 2 lights. 2 lights this year. We have, our next 2 picked. I forget what the total was we had left. Was it 10 signals or 8 signals? So,
2 to the big.
100 at Albertus and 100 at Willow.
Yeah, what?
Willow.
Okay.
things kind of that, we talked about that did make the list, things that didn't make the list. Always to put on the board, to your kind of background, fire department vehicles, long-term fleet planning. In our initial discussions with fire, they are looking at the replacement of their current ladder truck, not the one we bought, in 5 years. It's probably about a 4-year wait, on that apparatus, $2 million for that purchase price. They're asking the township at some point, to consider assistance with that, knowing we're 5 years away though, they wanted to get it on our radar early. So I have no money going to that at this point. Facility construction, our next roof and our roof replacement list is the Sean's Barn. 128,000 for that project. That barn actually sits on this campus right here. We know, and Anne Marie has been working diligently on that master capital projects repair and replacement plan for additional detail. That's in our 27 forecast for budget replacement, so not 26. Hills of Lockridge, we've identified that tennis court as our next court on the improvement list after the one we're gonna do in 2026. So we see about 102,000 there. That's in our 2027 long range plan. Municipal building upgrades, just some basic things, carpeting that hasn't been replaced in 40 years. We were talking about some vestibule reconfiguration up there for better service to our customers that visit. We still have to get some design work on that component. And then new windows in meeting room B. It's sometimes cold and drafty in there. We haven't been using that meeting room as much, but we have that and we forecasted it. And we're still thinking about it. Traffic signal, that line item, the Brookside crosswalk signal, Princeton and Brookside. We have that on our list. We know a cost estimate. We are waiting to hear back on our multimodal grant. If we're successful in November, we'll include it right away in the 26 budget. If we hear negatively, we'll put it and be ready to go in the 27 side. So this port could change if we get funding right away. We'll move that up.
So we're looking to put a traffic light in at Princeton.
It's not a traffic light, it's a pedestrian crossing.
Pedestrian crossing.
Yeah, the flashing pedestrian crossing signage.
Is that you think that'll be a big, project to get that approved?
We're working through permitting now at this point, so we have a shovel-ready project. Engineering does have the permitting in, I believe, to PennDOT, so we should hear some feedback about what they think. And then we have a cost estimate from them as well, so if we hit the ground running and receive the grant part, we'll hopefully be able to accomplish that, in 2026. So, if not, we'll be prepared for shovel ready after that. Those are the items we have, that is, where we are on the capital budget side. So we talked liquid fuels, we talked capital budget. We're about 45 minutes, close to my target time frame. But if there's questions from the board or things that, we can have ready or more details, please let us know. Further discussion, we're always available. If you need to see any information additional on, fleet plan, like I said, have questions Monday, we'll be ready. Doug's gonna kind of review, what the plan is. And then the playground, we can have more items. We'll need you to think about what you want us to deliver on that, so we can firm up numbers. And then we'll be ready for you. I'd like to say, instead of, I'd recommend the board, it's up to you guys though. We have our regular board workshop Monday, instead of our additional budget workshop Wednesday. If we get any feedback Monday night at our meeting, we can go ahead and keep moving forward. We'll look at our last budget presentation, on that Wednesday, I believe it's the 5th. Where we'll finalize everything. We'll talk, open space maintenance, the garbage sanitation budget, and then just a quick recap in case the public, missed these two meetings on where we are. If that's okay with the board.
I have two requests.
Sure.
And this is more for, than looking at community center requests. We shouldn't say community suggestion, community center requests. So I think the last page of their narrative talks about goal for 2026. We talked about this before, but I'd like to see some more ideas about how to make programming and revenue more robust. It's the one department in this township that actually can generate revenue, where it's a good thing. So they highlight a couple of things in here, but I'd like to see a little more detail around it. And with the 250th anniversary thing, fireworks is great, but I'd like to see an event around it. Like, what can we do? Can we have an event at a park that ends with fireworks as opposed to just putting on fireworks? I think a lot of times, especially in a department, we kind of undershoot the target. We try to be a little too cautious and too safe and not really put things out there. I think that has to be a major focus moving forward. So it's just something for them to think about in terms of where we generate, more revenue. Because as we saw we did a camp this summer that was very successful. To me, that's just scratching the surface of what we can do with this building and with that department if we're doing it right.
Yeah, we just have to definitely, encouraging to see, we basically doubled our recreation programming money with one successful program. So, we keep building off of that. It's important.
Any other commissioner questions or comments?
No, I guess we'll get ready for Monday.
Monday,
We have, regular questions with the budget. You have that.
We still have an additional, that
Yeah, we
first
have
one,
another meeting.
the better, but that'll give you enough time to draft things up and.
Yeah, any feedback you can bring by Monday would be great, so they confirm it up for the 5th.
Yeah.
Of November.
Yeah,
So yeah.
Wednesday night.
Yeah.
Okay,
Warren?
also along the lines of recreation. Creamery Park does not have playground stuff now. And in their long list of priorities, it has some fallen in there that there should be one there. And so one thing would be to request that Greenwood be included in a fairly high priority for park playground equipment. And also, I think we ought to give fairly high priority to establishing connectivity between Quarry and Freeway Parks.
Any public comment question?
That's a tricky one.
Not usually.
I would say tricky. I would say actually Doug and I have already visited
Not that tricky.
in the area.
All in between.
Yeah, we have that kind of plotted as a little bit of a trail path extension to get down in there, so.
Cause you can, I mean, you can cross right. I mean,
There is a bridge.
There's a bridge
Yeah.
for the railroad, you can go under.
Yeah.
Question is, how much can you dig down?
No, the question is, there's actually, you can go to the bottom of, now that the township's acquired, the Muse tract. If you, go to the bottom and, you know, Commissioner Robert, I know has walked it already. If you go to the bottom of Creamery, and yeah, and cross over the tracks, there's actually a concrete bridge. With a private rail crossing that used to take you to the house, in the structure for the farm. So there is a road path that, Doug and I have been on. And we're looking at how do we now connect that back, behind what would be, I think that's field 1 of the baseball field. When you come out of the woods, you are in the park then at that point. So, it's actually an existing crossing. I've reached out to legal to kind of talk about, are we still gonna be able to use that private crossing? Do we want pedestrians, you know, to be in that area? But it's there. So, Field 4, there you go.
They already are now, I mean,
It's
a
there.
lot of people know about that bridge, and a lot don't, but
People use
there's the house is gone, so.
Yeah. It's ruins back there.
The other thing we've talked about in the past, and it actually came up in a conversation someone had today, was the connectivity of the Spring Creek Farmington Trail. We've talked about using what LCA put in, since they didn't really care about the environment, and they just put a road right in, figuring a way to cross that.
Yeah, we've had some internal discussions about, you know, I'm passionate about I will say the metal drop-in bridge. That I'm familiar with from my previous life that we're looking at Smith Lane. These things are actually co-stars. They're, able to be assembled in like a day. If you look at the new Mack truck site, there is, one from that company that's now spanning the stream that they built, in half of the morning that they dropped in. That will carry the weight of any vehicles for the authority to get there and actually access their line. If we make it an 8-foot wide bridge, it may be advantageous on a sewer component side that we look at exploring our access options for sewer, to that area. So, and I would say with our primary focus, at least my end, access to sewer lines and equipment and maintenance, there's that component of, getting that done on the sewer side. And you know, the benefit would be, I guess you have some additional walking capacity, but, you're able to do our number 1 priority there is
Sewers.
fix manholes and sewers, so.
Makes sense.
Yeah, we've kind of looked at that and thought it's the quickest way across that area. And maybe the easiest, so we're gonna look at some permitting and, come up with a game plan.
It'd be a waste to put 2 bridges in, one for the path and one for maintenance.
I would think so. I wouldn't recommend that you put 2 bridges in. I think it'd be better to have 1. So.
Okay.
Yeah, and that actually, while we're talking about that pathway, we noticed, in that one area, we have to do some additional work, where they kind of is interrupted by a former driveway and things of that nature. That's on Doug's list to accomplish there, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have a comment, question. So to go back to the East Texas playground. So like Commissioner Higgins said, I'm not crazy about it being so close to the road. At the same time though, if we move it closer to the golf course and we open up a can of worms. You know, with golf balls in the playground and then, you know, parents complain that why did we move it there in the first place? Yeah. What have you heard? I mean, what do you think?
I would say we've talked about that internally, and then, part of our discussions have been keeping it as close to that tree line as possible. On the other side in that open area, but you know, that feedback we've got to have, okay, well, we have a baseball field there now, and we run a kids camp there in summer. That the kids run around in that open space and play on the playground and, play basketball over there on those basketball hoops, so. What's the component that we have some give and take, and then we've even said, hey, do we have to look at netting or something of that? That was one of the ideas staff had internally, like, do we need that over here, are we noticing that golf balls are coming that far over? We definitely think it's not, we wouldn't propose to put it where the tennis court is, we know, Doug's gonna try to get the tennis court out here fairly soon, just because of the roots there. That are in there, so that tennis court's coming out, we don't wanna go in that direction. We'd rather stay closer to the lot and, all those golf balls that may be hitting people's cars in there too.
Sure.
I don't know if we're seeing that, but that was one of the reasons, like,
Yeah,
trying to avoid the,
yeah, I mean, I didn't many golf balls into the parking lot in the tennis court, so.
hopefully not hitting cars.
No,
Okay, but you never made a playground, right?
not that I know of. I don't look that deep.
Yeah, we've definitely thought about,
I haven't been for a while, but I have.
I'm just saying, is it gonna cause more problems than it's worth? I don't know. You're gonna hear about it, not us.
And I'm more of the opinion, I'm not as worried about that as the $200,000.
Well, for sure.
If we're comfortable with the surface that we're proposing there, we already have a playground in that spot, there hasn't been any issue with the placement in terms of safety, to this point. And is it in our best interest to try a different surface so that we know what both give us? And it's $200,000, so if it was a lot less, yeah, maybe, but that's a big number when we're doing all these playgrounds, in 1 year.
Well, because you're running that curve around there and you're talking then the surface. There was discussion and Commissioner Robert actually kind of got me before about it and said, hey, we were increasing the cost of playground replacements. I thought we were going to be mindful of where we were in the cost. Because we have so many to do, and it's something we want a quality product. We want residents to be proud of that product and to come use it. And so I think even as a staff, that's why we're looking for that feedback.
But I do think you also have to look at and be, I guess, more mindful of what are we replacing and what are we doing away with? We can't replace 27 playgrounds. If we're talking about we've done 3, we have a 4th plan for next year and 5 more, well, there's 8 already. I don't think we do more than 9, because then you at least have 1 for every 3 that we had. And they're super playgrounds. It's just a matter of making sure we're placing them in the right spots. Is looking at that list, like, is Prager Park the best place? Is Shepherd Hills the best place? What else what's easily accessible from there? I don't think that what they cost and what we're doing, that we can go far past that, because the one thing that we've never, I guess, planned for when development happened here was that we required everybody to have a park. We're gonna have 27 of them. There was no plan to ever replace them. We need to look at the ones we're replacing and have a plan to replace them in 15 years, as opposed to get to that point again and say, oh, now we gotta replace 20 of them.
Yeah, I would think, to call out the list too, because you're right, you mentioned Prater and Shepherd Hills. I would say that this list has been worked through with facilities department as well, kind of identifying those structures that are gonna exceed their lifespan, or they're now maintenance issue, or we see that happening. So maybe it's not an area where we're looking to do a full build out, but it's a priority to get that playground out of there. So what's our alternative?
Right, and so if we're not gonna put one, like, we can remove one and not put one there, but put one someplace else.
Right.
So in reality, you're taking care of 2 playgrounds in 1 year, you're just only getting 1 in return. And again, I think we still need to address the trail system and everything we're trying to do, so everything is more walkable. So if you have one that's surrounded by 3 neighborhoods, okay, so you have 1 for 3 neighborhoods. That's what happens. I mean, that's just thinking long term.
Those are all good, accessibility, what you said.
Yeah.
East Texas is, it's a hike for, neighborhoods to get there. But East Texas equipment, how is that, condition wise now?
You know, I don't have a report, I don't know.
But the thing with East Texas, we use it extensively in the summer program,
Right,
which is why it will get use.
right,
Um,
it's just you hit a point.
just like Quarry will get used, like the, Spring Ridge Crossing is a great example. There was no playground there, but we took it out of the next neighborhood and put it there. So now that serves two neighborhoods, you know, where you can walk to. It's not gonna be perfect, you know, Wild Cherry is not gonna be, I think you need one there, but it's not gonna be walkable to a lot of big roads, but there's a couple, you know, that could get there on foot.
And, well, and actually probably more significant too, because you're, even though that's old, 55 plus housing across the street, you have that facility to kind of get in the back of Millbrook to now come across, but. You know, you look at, half the people probably don't realize that live in Harvest Fields, that East Texas is your closest playground because you have the walking path connectivity, which we
Yeah.
realize that half of the residents don't even know is there to link you up, you know?
Yeah.
And how do we, the gazebo that's over there, and then the trail path connection, that's a whole neighborhood that goes there, in addition to the kids camp, and then the people of East Texas.
That's also part of program, you know, how do we get back to programming that gazebo, you know, on a regular basis? And how do we get to having, you know, the free concerts at Hills of Lock Ridge more than just 7? You know, they seem to be well attended, you know, do more than one movie night out there. There's a lot we've never done or tried, and some of it's not gonna work, but if we're not trying to do it, then we're failing. And listen, Upper McClendon's gonna open their new Taj Mahal over there, and I'd rather be, you know, in the process of doing more things before that opens than trying to do it after it opens.
May 2020.
Little swimming pool or whatever.
No swimming pool. Everything else, but no swimming pool. They're smart, that won't cost them any money, it just costs us money, that's.
I think Bruce was mentioning too, there's two he meant two gazebos.
Well, there's one in
Harvest
Harvest
Fields.
Fields.
Yeah.
And there's the big one where you would run to for, entertainment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they used to use that, in recent years, pretty heavy, East Texas.
They did, they stopped doing it with COVID and they never started again.
Right.
Which, by the way, the TV out front is on tonight. I mean, it's not television, but it actually is turned on for the first time since 2020, which still blows my mind. At least there's advertisement on it, but it's in use
I
again.
think there's any sports on tonight yet.
That's okay, you couldn't watch it anyway unless you stream your phone to it, but it actually just isn't playing. And that's a big sign.
I would like to thank Doug for putting together the plan for the equipment, the heavy equipment, and also for the stormwater plan. I think both of those are very beneficial in providing us some kind of, at least pace we can look to as far as trying to keep going on this. Those 3 internationals have been bugging me for a long time.
Yeah, we could talk about Monday, but it was pretty extensive, it's no process, but we could talk about it Monday, yeah, but thank you.
What function the international trucks?
Well, they bought 3 at the same time, and then, you know, how do you know, it should be an even spaced thing, and that, how do you work through that, and so.
Yeah, it was process.
Yeah, even to the point, you know, adding that additional single, you know, we have to go back up singles now at this point with routes, so if the single goes down. You know, the factoring of like, all right, you know, when we talk about the plan, it's like, hey, I need a backup truck to make sure we're delivering if something happens.
Or if you continue to do work in the winter time, not just snow removal, you use these trucks for other jobs, we do other work. Like, you take spreaders off, and it's like, need backup trucks.
You can't just stop what you're doing, which
Yeah.
we have for a long
You
time.
can't do that, we won't. We won't
And
stop.
then standardizing on one type of vehicle and so forth, I think makes a lot of sense, so. Thank you very much
Thank
for
you.
both of those, they're very good. And, still would like to see a line item for dealing with the elimination of the West Coast building and replacement with a snack bar slash toilet facilities and so forth, and haven't seen that in budget yet.
Yeah, and storage, looking at storage over there as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ron. He's on it.
Hey, there's a roof on my bathroom, it's on. That Farmington Hills, it doesn't look like a Tonka anymore, there's actually a roof.
We're not done yet.
I know you're not telling me, but right now it's 1,000 times better than it was. All right, then we are adjourned, everyone.